Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Okay, so the doom and gloom from the mainstream media continues, right? Supposedly, we're headed into a recession, the American economy is falling apart, these tariffs are so destructive. But while certainly the headlines suggest that, and of course there is a little bit of skepticism in the markets, again, the underlying data and the actions that companies are taking, well, they're telling a very different story. Supposedly, America's supposed to be losing, right? Tariffs are a bad thing for the American economy and the American consumer. That's the story they keep on telling us. But if that's the case, why is it that in nearly every single instance that we see, that we read about, it seems like America is winning and on the track to gain more business, more jobs, and more domestic production? Well, it's probably because the media is totally lying to us, and again, as they attempt to paint this gloom and doom narrative, the exact opposite happens, and now Nvidia announces a $500 billion investment. And saying it that way doesn't do it justice. No, let's call it a $500 billion investment in American chip manufacturing, teaming up with TSMC, which is Taiwan's biggest chip producer. Folks, come on. They keep saying America's losing, Donald Trump is causing disaster, but what I'm seeing is the exact opposite. Just like they were saying that Donald Trump would cause World War III, and then he came in and ushered in an era of peace, and once again he seems to be doing that. With the most recent development getting Vladimir Putin to sign a limited ceasefire, the guy is delivering the goods like nobody else. And let's have that conversation. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so here's the clip that has everybody talking. Go ahead and take a look at this.
NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang says this company is set to spend hundreds of billions of dollars on chips and other electronics manufactured in America over the next 4 years. That's according to an interview Huang gave to the Financial Times. In it, he also said NVIDIA is now able to produce its most advanced systems in the U.S., partnering with Taiwan Semiconductor and Foxconn.
NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang announces that his company, NVIDIA, which for a long time was the biggest company in the stock market, I'm not sure if they're still at the top, but for a while I'm pretty sure they were, well, he's announcing that they intend to bring manufacturing back home. Interesting. It's funny. It's almost as if that's exactly what tariffs were supposed to do, right? Well, that's exactly what they're doing. NVIDIA's latest systems are now being manufactured in the US through suppliers like Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, which is TSMC and Foxconn. And by the way, this follows a $100 billion investment from TSMC to expand their chip manufacturing in the United States.
Donald Trump says chip giant TSMC has agreed to invest $100 billion in building 5 new facilities in the US. He made the announcement Monday, standing alongside the boss of the Taiwan firm, C.C. Wei.
$100 billion in new investment will go into building 5 cutting-edge fabrication facilities in the great state, Arizona, and will create thousands of jobs and high-paying jobs. In total, today's announcement brings Taiwan Semiconductor investments to about $165 billion they've started.
Well, I guess NVIDIA saw that manufacturing is coming back home, and they decided, you know what? On top of that $100 billion, we're going to add in another $500 billion. It doesn't stop. I mean, how many of these announcements have we covered? We have the German company Siemens, Intel, TSMC, Apple announced that they were making some huge domestic investments, and I forget the name of the Japanese bank, but I think they made a commitment for close to $500 billion as well, if I'm not mistaken. And so this is huge. This is amazing. And we're not talking about small investments or small companies. We're talking about the biggest companies in the world. And not to mention the companies that are leading the future of innovation, leading the future of economic growth. I mean, again, NVIDIA is no scrub of a company. They're leading the world when it comes to innovation and propelling the future economy. I mean, look at their latest tech presentation. It's mind-boggling. It's mind-blowing, like something you would expect out of Star Wars.
Can you imagine just now what you were looking at is complete real-time simulation? This is how we're going to train robots in the future. Blue has 2 NVIDIA computers inside. Let's finish it up. We have another announcement. You're good. You're good. Just stand right here. Stand right here. Stand right here. All right, good. Right there. That's good. All right, stand.
So basically, Donald Trump is creating the parameters, he's creating the environment for market-leading innovators to come back home. And that has huge implications. That puts America in the driver's seat when it comes to remaining competitive in the future economy. And it also has positive national security implications. Being less reliant for our tech on places like China, it's a good thing for national security, especially when you're talking about AI systems, in-home robots, security systems. We don't want China producing that tech for obvious reasons. Not to mention creating a dependence on China does give them a certain point of leverage. Of course, America has outsized leverage in that relationship, considering they're dependent on us procuring goods from them. But in terms of short-term disruption, it certainly gives them a card to play. And well, in what universe would you want to give an adversarial nation that kind of position, that kind of leverage, regardless of how small or big or significant that leverage is? America benefits by producing goods and producing technologies domestically. And that's not up for debate. That's not up for discussion. I think we could agree to that. And well, this is what the tariff talks are doing. Donald Trump's signaling, he's saying, look, I know you guys are big multinational companies, and you've signaled that you have no loyalty to America and America's workers, but that ends today. We're bringing business back home, and we're leveling the playing field, and now they have no choice, I guess, but to listen, and that's exactly what they're doing. And no more with this anti-patriotic doomer outlook that it's impossible to bring production back home because Americans ask for too much. No, it's time to have those dollars circulating locally. And I think very quickly that notion is going to be dispelled as people realize that investment can come back home, production can come back home. It's going to spur growth, it's going to create good paying American jobs, and it's going to benefit American citizens and American workers in the American economy. Just you watch. In what universe is trillions of dollars in investment coming back home to create American jobs a bad thing for the American worker? You'd expect the working class party, the Democrat Party, they label themselves the working class party, you'd expect them to be cheering this stuff on. No, but instead, they're continuing pushing their bogus narratives. Tariffs cause inflation. Tariffs hurt American consumers and workers. And they're all posting this Jerome Powell clip, who recently said this to make that point.
How much of the higher inflation forecast for this year is due to tariffs? And since the policy path remains the same, are you effectively reading this as a one-time price level shock?
How much of it is tariff? So let me say that it is going to be very difficult to have a precise assessment of how much of inflation is coming from tariffs and from other, and that's already the case. You may have seen that goods inflation moved up pretty significantly in the first 2 months of the year. Trying to track that back to actual tariff increases, given what was tariffed and what was not, very, very challenging. So some of it, the answer is clearly some of it, a good part of it is coming from tariffs, but we'll be working, and so will other forecasters, to try to find the best possible way to separate non-tariff inflation from tariff inflation.
Jerome Powell attributes inflation to Donald Trump's tariffs, even though Trump's tariffs haven't even gone into effect yet. What a complete clown this guy is. Oh, but he's the chairman of the Federal Reserve, and therefore everything that he says must be treated as economic gospel. Give me a frickin' break. Obviously, the guy needs to take an Econ 101 class. The tariffs haven't even been implemented yet. How could they be blamed for last month's inflation? Not to mention, we saw a momentary jump in inflation when Donald Trump took office, before he even had time to do anything. And since then, it's gone down quite significantly. I mean, look at the cost of eggs, for instance, which was the one grocery good the Democrats were making their inflation argument on. Remember the last time that I was reporting that the cost for a dozen of eggs jumped up over $8 after the bird flu epidemic, and then very recently shot down to $5, basically back where it was a couple years ago? Well, in that video, I told you that the prices were going to continue dropping, and boy are they, as the latest numbers have them at $3 for a dozen, a drop of over 50%. The cost of oil is going down, natural gas is going down, and again, Trump's policies haven't even been able to take effect. Once his energy policies start kicking in, and energy is more abundant, the cost of everything is going to start going down, regardless of whether or not there's tariffs in place on foreign nations and foreign imports. And you know what? Even if there is a little bit of inflation, meaning the cost of certain goods are going up because we're no longer importing Chinese crap, it's not even necessarily going to be a bad thing, because you're paying more for a better, more high-quality good that's produced domestically, and the money you're spending on those goods is going into the pockets of other Americans who are then stimulating the American economy. And so there's more money circulating domestically. In other words, it might be a little bit of a pain, a marginal amount of pain, for a long-term gain. But no, doom and gloom for everyone. That's all you ever frickin' hear in the Democrat media. But it's total nonsense, and I'm telling you, the stories and the data, the actual actions that companies are taking, well, they're telling a much more bullish story. And if anything, this little momentary dip in the stock market, I'm viewing it less as a sign of an incoming looming recession and more as a great opportunity to buy a dip, as it seems the economy is about to start roaring like never before. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.